Welcome to Heroes and Droids, your guide to movies and TV shows about superheroes, sci-fi, Disney, and action. From Marvel to DC, from Star Wars to Star Trek, from James Bond to the Fast and the Furious. We'll review the theatrical films and streaming delights you care about most. And the world has spoken. This week we review Spider-Man No Way Home. It took a whopping 260 million opening weekend here in the States, making it the second highest grossing film of all time. And of course, has blown open all the records, during the pandemic, if you will. We are excited to do this, but let me introduce the crew that are with me. I'm Doc Host, and joining me tonight is the SLATTMAN, Christopher Slater. How you doing, sir?
Good.
See anything good lately? Yeah, that's what we're
No, I haven't seen anything good. I've only seen stuff that's excellent or amazing
spectacular
or incredible. Oh, wait, that's the wrong hero.
Also joining us is podcasting Rockstar and international cosplay queen, Vanessa. How you doing, Vanessa? The Scarlet Spider. Oh, that's so cool. Whip, she says. Wonderful. Let's welcome award-winning filmmaker Christopher Ajimar. How you doing, sir?
Doing good. Are you good? Are you guys good?
Good.
We're good? Okay. Good.
I'm waiting for you to pull a Tony the Tiger.
Great.
Let's welcome our newest cast member. He went from guest host to co-host. That would be comic artist.
I don't know how that happened.
I don't either, but somebody owes me a dime. Co-host of Decades of Horror. Let's welcome Chad Hunt. Chad, how you doing, sir?
A dime? Yeah, I'm working cheap. No, I'm good. I'm good. I'm awesome, amazing, invincible, incredible.
Fantastic.
That's another hero.
I see from your wall behind you on the video that there's a few Spider-Man posters. You're a fan, sir.
Yes, I am a big fan of Spider-Man. I'm also a poet and didn't know it.
Yeah. That's us. All right. So what we're going to do tonight, we're going to amaze you with our reaction to Spider-Man Far From Home. We'll give our first impressions. That will be spoiler free. And then we'll dive into a discussion. And we're getting into spoilers, man. We're going to talk it all. We're going to mention all the surprises, all the Easter eggs, all the wows and the oohs and the ahs. That's going to be as monumentous and exciting as the actual review itself. And then we'll, at the end of the show, we'll give our final thoughts, our score, 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. And of course, we hope you enjoyed not only this review, but many others that we have on the site. And if you want to help us out, it's easy and free to do. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, share with a friend. That'll do wonders, and we'll greatly appreciate it. And of course, we want to hear your comments down below. And given the night that we are recording this, we are approaching the holiday season, and we just want to wish everybody a happy, safe, and healthy holidays.
Absolutely.
All right, let's get into the CAD. Spider-Man No Way Home from Sony and Marvel Studios, I guess. Available in theaters beginning December 17th, 2021. Still available in theaters December 17th, 2022. No, I'm just kidding. Directed by John Watts, written by Chris McKenna and Eric Summers, based on the Marvel comic book by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko, and other comics from a variety of other writers and artists. The cast includes Tom Holland, Zendaya. How you like that? Double Zendaya. Benedict Cumberbatch, Jacob Patel, John Favreau. Yes. Jamie Foxx, Willem Dafoe, Alfred Molina, Benedict Wong, Tony Revolori, Marissa Tomei, J.K. Simmons, Ray Fiennes, Thomas Hayden Church, and a few surprises. Yes, the worst kept secret in all of Hollywood. The synopsis: with Spider-Man's identity now revealed, Peter asks Doctor Strange for help. When a spell goes wrong, dangerous foes from other worlds, maybe other universes start to appear, forcing Peter to discover what it truly means to be Spider-Man. That's right. All right, let's give our first impressions. Slatman, sir, you are up first.
I appreciate that the synopsis is basically the first 30 minutes of the movie.
That's all they can tell us.
Yeah. And apparently there's a rumor that the first screening that they did of this movie, like the first screening ever, was only the first 30 or 40 minutes or so, and they refused to show anything after that. So
I can see that. I can see
yeah.
that. Yep.
So this movie was insert all of the little jokes and puns that we've been saying about Marvel superheroes, you know, fantastic, amazing, incredible, etc., etc. Spectacular. Yeah. This is the first movie since Endgame that has had the hype in the MCU and lived up to the hype. The first property, I would even argue. Because including some of the Disney Plus stuff is amazing. Don't get me wrong, but it didn't have the most amazing Disney Plus stuff. Didn't have the hype that this did. So this is the first thing I think that lives up to the hype that was built by it. There's a nice little meme going around that from the animated. I'm blanking on the title. Into the Spider-Verse, where Doc Ock says, "Well, actually, there's 3," and that meme is now true with Spider-Man movies, because there are 3 best Spider-Man movies that you can just kind of put in it, like at the top: Spider-Man 2, Into the Spider-Verse, and Far From Home.
Yes.
And there's a lot more I want to say and get into, but I cannot until we get into the spoilers. But it's just right. Yeah, it lives up to the hype. That's all. That is the best thing I can say without getting into spoilers.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned the hype, because with that much hype, it's kind of dangerous, because if it doesn't approach that hype, it falls disastrously to the ground. But this did exactly what you're saying. Vanessa, you're up next. What was your first impression of Spider-Man Far From Home?
Oh, my first impression is that I went and saw it again a couple days later. That's how much I loved this movie. It was an amazing experience. Just being in the theater for a movie like this was an amazing experience. It was kind of like just effervescent. Everything came together to make it wonderful. Everybody was feeling the joy and the happiness, and just like, I don't know, the relief, right? We come to the end of this really crappy year that we've had, and then this awesome movie comes out that I think everybody can connect. Like, how can you not like Spider-Man, right? How can you be a Spider-Man hater? He represents so much, and he's always the underdog, and I feel like so many people feel that way right now. That he just is someone to connect to and someone to root for. You know, he's a New Yorker, and this movie just did not disappoint at all. It touched my heart so many times, and there was moments where I was exclaiming with joy, and tears were falling down my face, and theories were just running through my mind for all the different things that this could lead to, or that this is talking about, or what's coming next. Like it just has, like, kind of like Chris was saying, this is gonna revitalize Marvel. I think Marvel, Sony, all these superhero movies that have come out that have kind of been a little lackluster, right? This past year, not as great as we would have wanted, not as had that thing, that Marvel movies have had, that this one just was like, yes, finally. Yes. We needed that.
It certainly had that thing. I do agree with that. All right, Chad, sir, you're up next. What was your first impression of Spider-Man Far From Home?
No Way Home?
Is it No Way Home? It is No Way Home. I've been saying Far From Home this entire time.
No, I watched the wrong movie.
It's the Home trilogy, so
it's one of the homes.
I can't believe I've been doing that.
Home for
Nobody-
Wayward Spiders.
Nobody.
You did it the whole time.
You guys.
I'm
No,
sorry. It
it's
just
okay.
made me have a brain fart for a minute. I thought
Well, obviously,
anyway.
I can't do an episode without goofing up something.
Yeah, we know. I've heard this movie called Spider-Man Endgame
Nice.
because it kind of brings everything together. And this movie this is a love letter. I've heard this said too. It's really a love letter to all the Spider-Man movies and the character of Spider-Man. It's the first one, Homecoming, you had Spider-Boy. The second one, Far From Home, you had Spider-Teen, and this one, Peter finally becomes like Spider-Man. He kind of it had a more serious tone than the previous ones in a lot of ways, and which we'll get into. But yeah, this movie was just great. It felt great to sit in a theater where there was a big crowd of people, and they're all cheering at the end, and everything that's going on, and it felt good to see a movie like that again. And I agree with what everybody else is saying. This is, I think Vanessa said it's going to revitalize Marvel, and I feel that way too. There's, it's just something about it that it's got that oomph that that the MCU's really needed over the past year or so, or more. And yeah, but my first impression was, I love it. This is my favorite of the home trilogy.
Oh yeah.
And so easily.
Easily. All right, Christopher Gene Moore, what was your first impression of Spider-Man No Way Home?
This film has been kind of cool because they've had so many people had to lie about certain things.
No, they did.
And I think this is the reason why it did so well, because everybody's like, we need to find out for real if what is happening in this film, and we don't want to be spoiled by it. And there was already spoilers going out, so I think everybody just wanted to get in that theater as soon as possible to make sure. And I think this has been one of the most enjoyable audience events I've been to in a while. It's to me, it's kind of fun in the same way that people were releasing those like videos of people cheering during Endgame.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, like when
TikTok is full of people, even though they're legally doing it, filming reactions in the theater.
Yes.
For every little bit. So don't go on TikTok if you haven't seen the film yet, because about half the film is on TikTok. But again, people aren't just cheering because they're in the theater because they've been in this pandemic all the time. It's because it's a damn good movie. On top of it, people will hate me for this, I like this better than Endgame. This is one of my favorite Marvel films I've seen. I mean, this is one of the best Spider-Man films. It's up there to Spider-Man 2 for me. And I think it does that weird thing where you're not adding certain characters for fan service. You're adding it to resolve certain storylines, and it works so well. In fact, and it also sort of makes sense that these three films have almost become an origin story.
Yes.
So an origin story that normally people always hark about, when it comes to Spider-Man stuff. So, but it does it in a way that doesn't make you realize it's an origin story. And it's fun. There's so much humor. I before we did this podcast, I almost wore a certain outfit of a cool youth pastor.
Very
nice. But I couldn't find
great dialogue, great
clothing. But there's like so many snarky, fun pieces of dialogue. There's like a million Easter eggs.
Yes.
But it has heart, and I've seen a million different, like a lot of us, I've seen a million different like superhero films in the theaters. To be honest, I've never really been cried or whatever. As much as the people are crying in Endgame and what's the one before it, the
Infinity War.
Infinity War. It's like, oh, people are dusting. I was like, they're gonna come back. So I didn't really it didn't really matter to me because but
I don't
this one
feel so good, Mr. Stark. That did nothing to you.
Oh,
okay.
my
I know he's
God.
coming back. He's not really dead.
Oh.
If he didn't come back, I'm like,
that broke my
I don't
heart.
know. Whatever. You can throw some away. I don't care. But I literally cried like 5 or 6 times in this film where I was embarrassed. There was a guy next to me. He was like moving away from me because I was like, I was like, what is happening? Why am I? This is superhero films that supposedly aren't real cinema, Martin Scorsese. And it was pulling at the heartstrings. I mean, there's. It was great to be able to cheer during certain scenes.
Yes. Oh my God.
And
it was
yes,
so
when
great.
certain things happen. But yeah, I don't know. This for the first time felt like a true. I mean, I love Spider-Man 2 and I love the Raimi ones, the first 2 at least. But this felt like, I don't know, something about it just felt and just. I don't know. I can't say too much without giving spoilers, but I thoroughly enjoyed this. This is one of the most enjoyable movies I've seen this year or in a very long time. And it was great to have had that same experience with everybody in the theater. I know after that first screening, I was talking to Vanessa and Josh outside. We were all like geeking out. We were trying to hold back, saying too much because you want to be that person that somebody stabs you because you gave them a spoiler.
Yeah, I know. I was like going through the hallway like this.
But I was like,
I was
beaming from smiling from ear to ear. It's just so many great moments. Because I mean, I've always been a big fan of the Spider-Man comics and the movies. I mean, I was always Green Goblin is probably more Hobgoblin, but Green Goblin and Hobgoblin have always been my favorite villains. So it was nice to sort of see that and how they can be a little bit meta and make fun of themselves in the film.
Yes.
And also make references to other things, and I think for me, I just hope that I know the money it's made is probably going to get a lot of property things that we probably weren't expecting or think we'd ever get. It may open up a can of worms too, to where it might sort of dilute what they've created in this film. But overall, this is one of the most fun experiences I've had in a theater in a very long time.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you there. I'm epic. Let's just call it epic. What this accomplished in its story is simply epic. It really captures the spirit of Spider-Man. It captures the spirit of comic books. It captures the spirit of the storytelling that the genre is capable of, and it's emotional. I don't know if any of us expected it to be so emotional, this film, and it really is concentrating on Peter Parker and his story of being Spider-Man and what it means. And like you said, we didn't know we were in a 3-movie origin story, but that's what happened. And it gave us, there could be people out there to say it gave us fan service, and it technically did, but it did it in a way that served the story. I mean, the story needed it, and it meant something. It wasn't just there. And we'll get to all that. We know about Doc Ock and Goblin and whatnot, and they, it's just, it was something magical. And then on top of that, like you said, it's the first time I think I've been in a absolutely full, sold out theater in 2.5 years or more, and the crowd was just great. It was perfect. They ooh and awed, and they hushed when it got quiet when it needed to. There, because it goes into dark spaces, but when it gets to those moments that I mean, you kind of feel like you're just being lifted out of your seat when everybody's clapping and yelling and having a great time. Yeah, they didn't give it a standing ovation, but you felt like they did. All right, let's go ahead and get into the spoilers. But let's go ahead and start off. Christopher, do you have a list of Easter eggs for us?
Oh my God, this is
Are-
going to take an hour.
Well, here's the thing. Let me just say this. I'm a little bit under the weather, so
Oh.
I didn't get as many as what I would like, but I do have a few. And then I realized this podcast would be 5 hours long
like yes.
if I went through every, because there's a million different things. But
Well,
There's-
before you get into it, should we just go ahead and state the thing everybody knows we want to say?
okay, we're already in Spoilerville, right?
There is spoilers. If you have not seen this film, you need to get out of here, go see the movie, and come back as quickly as possible. But yes, worst kept secret of the year is Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield being in the film, and it absolutely was breathtaking, and it was perfect the way they introduced them, and I was literally shocked on how much of the part of the story they were.
Well, and I will say, this has probably been one of the best marketed films in history, because a lot of times, when people go on talk shows, they're not allowed to talk about certain things, especially if it might spoil it. And I think Marvel and Sony have been doing this on purpose. That's why several talk shows have posed certain questions that they can't answer or they have to lie about. You know, they even had that doctored footage, like, oh, the part where he's holding onto the rails, it's not a real scene. It's been doctored. I mean, the amount of level of craziness that they tried to hide it has just created more of a fever for people to go see it. And I think that's the great part of it. But yeah, I mean, because then it's like, we also thought, like, what if we have all this build up and we go and it's not there? It's like other things, you know, like Mephisto and Loki, you know, it's like, you know, it's like, what is what? But this they delivered. And then you're like, whoa, they're actually in this film more than what I expect. It's not one of those things where they just show up at the very end, you know, with the cracks in the sky. They're in it for a good bit. And there's some fun scenes between all these different spider people.
Yes. My back.
Yeah,
just-
oh my God, my heart. My heart.
And that's
When
why
I
you-
saw
if
them
you-
come on screen.
If you go on TikTok, you can see people like, you know, when Andrew Garfield takes his mask off, you know, when Tobey Maguire comes through and he's like, is this a portal? It's like, and for me, it's like, you know, I'm a big fan of Tobey Maguire and his Spider-Man. So for like, oh man, it's just great to see him and see an older Spider-Man too.
Yes,
you know?
yes. Yeah, and play it that way, because you know there's a lot of characters were de-aged, you know, for their roles, and that worked. It was flawless, by the way. Really want to, you know, we'll get to a lot of things, but we got to commend, you know, the three main villain actors, Willem Dafoe. Help me out, guys.
Alfred Molina.
Yeah,
Willem Dafoe, Jamie Foxx.
and Jamie
Jamie
Foxx.
Foxx.
Yeah,
But I don't
because-
think they de-aged him.
Jamie Foxx was not de-aged.
No.
I saw him in an interview and he looked exactly the same.
but he didn't
Well,
need to be. Didn't need to be.
He
But,
looked good, yeah.
Supposedly Alfred Molina was the one that actually requested to be de-aged.
It was
We-
like, man.
William Dafoe
good.
wanted to do a lot of his own stunts in this.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Which
he did.
apparently he
Oh,
did, and he
yeah.
nailed it.
Oh
Oh,
my
my God.
that his okay, yeah, we'll get to all that. All right, so there's also another character that shows up earlier in the film, and everybody's been dying for this. That's Matt Murdock. Matt Murdock, of course, Daredevil. Again,
Poor Doc.
I know I can't. I'm stumbling on myself.
The devil of Hell's Kitchen.
And Chad, played by
Charlie Cox
Charlie
of the
Cox.
Netflix Daredevil.
Yes.
And what
I'm
a great
really good
time scene
lawyer.
he had.
yeah.
I'm a
I'm
really good
yeah.
lawyer. That's
How did you do that? I'm a good lawyer.
I'm a really good lawyer.
I just having him come in and that one scene that okay. So I will say that's what I thought we were going to get with Andrew and
Yeah.
Toby.
Just
Was
a
going to be
moment.
something like that at the end. I literally, because we knew about the cracks. Christopher was saying they were going to come out of the crack. I literally thought that I can't stop them. They're coming through. I thought that was going to be them. So when they did show up earlier, I was like jaw to the floor, and the crowd just ate it up.
Oh my God, I know. Like but there's such a everything about Andrew Garfield and how he didn't get his third Spider-Man movie, and they brought in Tom Holland. That meant his time was over. Like, there's so many things about his journey as Spider-Man that this just felt like the moment he took off. Well, he didn't even have to take off his mask. He stepped through, and we knew who.
Oh,
he
we
was.
did when he bounced up
But,
to it. Yeah.
Oh my God, the moment, it just felt like redemption in that moment. You know, when he really does get it later on. But just seeing him back on screen in that costume, and he's almost my favorite now. You know, he was so just wonderful as this Spider-Man, what he's grown into. You know, by the time that it plucked him out of his timeline, just magic to watch on screen. So funny, so relatable, so just the same cool, quirky guy that he was before, but just like, I don't know, like self-aware or something.
It kind of justifies that they were right in casting him for the original, the Amazing movies, but the script just kind of failed him.
Yeah.
You could, okay, so the scene you were talking about, he gets redemption later on in the film when he saves Mary Jane, or MJ, not Mary Jane, but MJ, where he couldn't do it for Gwen. The emotion on his face, which gave his character an arc, you know, close that arc, which was crazy that they're doing it here. But the emotion on his face is what I want to point out. Oh my God, it was so heartbreaking and emotional. It was. It was a beautiful moment.
It really was. Had they not done that, I'm like, oh.
his character needed that.
I think so.
I mean, because he spoke earlier of he went to a really dark place and you know, became more violent and more. So he kind of needed that for the closure of his story arc, and it just was done so beautifully. I mean, there were people everywhere crying after he saved MJ. I wasn't.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Poor Chad.
But but it was that was a great scene.
All right.
And,
So,
and on top of that, the chemistry between the three actors was phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like they played off of each other really well. They were able to joke. It's like it's like they were really the same people.
Yep. They were
but from different universes. Like it worked shockingly well.
Yeah.
They were like brothers. They really were like brothers. Also, little side note, I heard that they have a group chat, like in real life, the three of them have a group chat and they keep up and they're like friends.
Oh my God. Fly on the wall. Spider in the web. I want to see that. But there's moments with each of them and moments between Toby and Andrew that, you know, you wouldn't expect to get. And we do, the back cracking moment that I love you. Oh my God. And the other guys are like, oh, okay. There's so much. All right. So let's, I just want to get those because those are, you know, the big bombs and we want to get into the other stuff. So Christopher, take it away.
Well, actually, speaking of that, in one of the Spider-Man films, Tobey Maguire gets hit in his back, and he's hurt his back.
My back.
So again, that kind of plays into that. And also, Tobey Maguire's like, "You're amazing." Keeps telling Andrew Garfield, "You're amazing," which ties in that's how they separated Andrew Garfield Spider-Man by putting "amazing" in the front of it. So I thought that was a nice little sort of meta type things.
Yeah.
When he's flying with MJ past the electronic billboard, it's got the half face, half Peter Parker, half Spider-Man, which is one of the famous comic book covers. Also, when they land on the bridge with MJ, there's a Roosevelt tramway that goes by, which is the same tramway from the Sam Raimi Spider-Man film with the Green Goblin when he's fighting, when he's holding MJ. Also, when he whips the manhole cover, it's similar to Andrew Garfield when he whips the manhole cover in his film. So nice little callbacks to some of the other films. Also, if you pay attention to the news station with the little ticker at the bottom, it says political turmoil continues in New Asgard. So I'm wondering if that's going to tie into the upcoming Thor movie.
Interesting.
Of course, we get the bad photo of Happy Hogan, which is actually a photo when he had long hair in the prologue for Iron Man 3.
Yes.
Where it's very, very Pulp Fiction-ish.
And he said, at least they pick a good picture.
Yeah, because his hair's not looking as fine back then.
Definitely look like a Vega.
Yeah. Well, he does. It's very Pulp Fiction-ish.
Oh my gosh.
Of course, we get Betty Brant when she's like being like the little reporter, and she says, "Go get him, Tiger," which of course is the famous line by MJ, which actually was used in the Sam Raimi film. Of course, Flash's tell-all is called Flashpoint. They've even got a reference to a DC storyline, which is being turned into a movie about multiverse and multiple versions.
You cannot.
Nice little wink. Wink to the.
You cannot say that's not a direct dig. Like, we did
it
first.
I'm sorry. As much as I like Batman, I'm not sure if that film's going to live up. I don't know. Maybe we'll be surprised.
What is that, Chad? The distinguished competition.
Distinguished competition. DC Comics. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Maybe they'll do the same thing with Michael Keaton's Batman, and maybe maybe I'll like Ben Affleck as Batman. Let's see. If you pay attention to the background when Tom Holland's walking through the school, they have a collage of different inventors, and they've actually added Abraham Erskine, who's the creator of the super serum, and Hank Pym. Their faces are on that now.
And Tony's dad is on there too. Howard Stark.
Yeah, he was on there before though, but they've added the two.
Oh, was he? I didn't know that.
Also, here's a nice little sort of Easter egg that most people don't know. At one time, James Cameron was going to create a Spider-Man film, and in the script it talked about Spidey's seductive powers. So the whole when they have like reading the newspaper about that, that's actually a dig at James Cameron's script, which I think there's a dig at that when they talk about like if he shoots fluid out of other places, which is also a scene from James Cameron's where he wakes up and he's almost like
no.
But anyway, also, I always got to point out the Star Wars references, but the Lego Death Star gets knocked over and destroyed again, which, if we remember from the Avengers films, he talked about Empire Strikes Back. And if you remember, they built the Death Star twice and they destroyed it twice. So we get a sort of a callback to that.
Are these your Legos?
Yeah.
I didn't think of it that way.
And of course, we get the famous line, a variation of that. With great power, there must also come great responsibility. But the cool part of that line, that is the actual line from the comic that they altered for Sam Raimi's. That was from Amazing Fantasy number 15 from 1962. The comic where Peter made his debut. So it's interesting that actually, even though it seems kind of it's worded differently, that's the actual wording from that. So, which is cool. Also, there's a lot of callbacks from other movies. We get Osborn saying, "I'm something of a scientist myself."
Yes, I love that.
Callback to his line from Spider-Man. Also, when the Green Goblin leaves his mask behind in the trash. It's similar to when Tobey Maguire leaves his mask. Yes. When he leaves his mask in the trash can. So it's a nice sort of interesting how they sort of mix up the same thing, but instead it's a villain this time.
Yeah, which itself is a cover of a famous comic, Amazing Spider-Man comic, Spidey No More, right?
Spider-Man No More, yeah.
Yep.
And also when the Green Goblin becomes a little homeless looking. The outfits that they pull together are basically similar variations of the actual Green Goblin costume, the different colors and stuff, which to me was kind of cool. Somebody who actually has comics with that outfit on it. Let's see. Of course, we get a moment where Doctor Strange throws his cloak after Spider-Man, and he wears it for a brief moment, which of course ties into the What If series for a minute there. We get different forms of original Spider-Man music, like from Sam Raimi's as well as Andrew Garfield's. Let's see. When this is just an interesting thing if you pay attention when you watch it again. When Peter Parker gets knocked out of his body, it's supposed to be like that original, I guess, variation of your soul or whatever. His shoelace is
Astro
untied, so
figure.
it's
I
his
didn't catch it.
even in his Astro form, his shoelace is untied. So I just find that just character wise, that's just kind of perfection there. That attention to detail. Also, we get the Sandman and Lizard parts. The actors weren't available for shooting. So they actually used scenes from the original Spider-Man for Sandman. So they almost did like a reverse thing for that. And they just voiced their parts. So they actually were not on set for that. Probably one of my favorite moments is, I knew it had to happen at some point, but the Spider-Man meme where they're pointing at each other.
I know.
When he's like, Peter, and they're all like, huh? They're doing that in the lab. I laughed so hard because I was like, I knew they had to do that somewhere. But anyway, there's probably a million other Easter eggs, but I'll stop now. And because my brain got tired.
Well, with the astral projection,
I gotta add one too.
I got one too. Go ahead, you first.
Okay, the Rogers the musical posters.
Ah,
Rogers the musical posters and seeing those in Hawkeye. Now, granted, Broadway shows can run forever, but I thought that was pretty cool little wink.
Also, the end of it, Spider-Man swinging above the ice rink, which plays into the last
Center.
episode of Hawkeye.
Center, yeah.
Yes. A few years later. I will say that the astral projection, back to that, Spider-Man still avoids Doctor Strange grabbing it, but Peter Parker, you get a little wiggles over his head.
That was his
spider sense, just like
sense,
from the comics. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So very, very cool.
I think that confused a lot of people why he was moving the box away so much, but
well, his Spidey sense is kind of increased in this film a lot. So
yeah.
You mean the Peter Tingle?
Yes.
I don't like that.
Absolutely love that when they bring up the spider sense and he calls it the Peter Tingle. The other two Spider-Men don't deny that they also call it like the Tingle or the Peter Tingle.
And the whole thing about the spider web coming out of Toby's wrist instead. We're like, come out of anywhere else.
Yeah.
It's just a funny line. And then Andrew Garfield's face the entire time is like, he's looking at him.
He's like, well, how in the world does that?
But you never get web blocked?
Yeah, web blocked.
I think for me, my favorite part is just the chemistry between those three Spider-Men. That scene where they get confused about Spidey 1, Spidey 2, Spidey 3 just cracked me up because they're just like, it's like, I'm sorry, I'm so confused. I mean, they're in the midst of this big fight.
Well, what a great message, right? They didn't know how to work as a team because they've only worked alone.
They've only worked by themselves. Yeah.
Right.
And so they got to finally be a team together. It was great. Oh my God. And then when they jump on that statue together, the 1, 2, 3.
That's such a great shot, and the way they're slinging each other around,
so good.
Yeah, they're swinging between them and stuff.
Yeah,
to me that was like, oh, that's so amazing.
It just felt so good. Yeah, gives you a tingle, Peter Tingle, as you're watching.
I don't know if I could say that.
No comment.
Somebody might take that wrong.
I would say it felt like watching Superman fly back in the 70s, for the first time. It really felt like you're seeing. We've seen Spider-Man in 6, 7 other films, and it just felt so much more at that time.
When the other two Spider-Man first appeared, you felt like, oh, this is something special here. As far as I know, there's never been anything like that before, where they've brought in other characters from different movie franchises to especially like this. These and
there might be an animated one that did that, but we'll go ahead.
Well, I wasn't counting that one, but and to make it mean so much, they could have just gave them little cameos, but they became an integral part of the story as it went on. They weren't just there to be seen, and
important part of it.
Yeah, really, really important part.
When Toby, grabs the thing from.
And it calls back to when he was like, yeah, I got exactly what I wanted and it didn't help. And he's trying to save, Tom Holland Peter from,
Yeah.
from going through the exact same thing.
Mhm.
Without even saying a word.
I know that look. Oh my god, that look on his face was everything, wasn't it? It was just
Yes.
like,
Yeah. And he played that character so well because he's always been the more gentle, soft, really sweet man, right?
Mhm.
He always played the character that way. And then to see him as someone who's, has not always had it easy, who's had to work hard to make it work, but who is still positive and optimistic, telling Peter 3, hey man, what's this with the self-talk? You gotta watch out with the self-talk here. Like just constantly encouraging them to be their best and
Mhm.
to not give up. Like I absolutely love that they did that with his character and continued that on, and reminded me so much of the Spider-Man, the 40-ish-year-old Spider-Man in Into the Spider-Verse,
yes,
right?
Yeah.
His
I felt
mentor,
it.
Peter.
Spider
Yeah.
Daddy.
Spider
The only difference is
Spider
that
Daddy.
Toby seems to have it together, whereas Into the Spider-Verse
Yeah.
one seems to
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
give a
little
shit.
rough, a little rough, yeah.
A little yeah, a little bit more
Yeah.
together than that one.
Let's briefly talk about how awesome Zendaya and Jacob Battalion were, as well as MJ and Ned. They got so much more screen time, and they were integral to the story, and they got elevated in that respect. And the three of them together with Tom Holland it was just great. It was just pure
Yeah.
cinema. Loved it.
Especially Zendaya as MJ.
Mhm.
I felt like her character, she turned into this a really caring girlfriend for Peter.
Mhm.
Whereas before she was like very aloof and just teased him and that kind of thing. But she really came into that character as I'm with Peter. I'm with Peter all the way, and that was a cool thing to see too.
Yep.
And
And when
she really brought that character into that.
It
Yeah,
showed
and
so much growth, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because I don't want that. I don't want. That's not what I want. It was just at the end, just you felt
Yeah.
it. You felt it.
I know. Oh,
John Favreau, Marissa Tomei also did a great job. Marissa Tomei, especially, I thought her Aunt May in this was just. I don't know. It was like I think she calls herself a beacon, a moral beacon, and yes, that's what she is in this. And her interaction with Norman Bates with Willem Dafoe was
Norman Bates?
Norman
Yeah.
Bates. Norman Bates.
That's what you said.
Wrong
Norman
psycho.
Osborn. Wrong
We all get
psycho.
a little mad sometimes.
Norman Osborn.
You know.
I want to
thank
see
you.
that crossover.
I do too. Thank you for the catch there. But Willem Dafoe is when they were at what is the name of the place that she's at?
Feast.
Yeah,
Feast.
that scene really, you could see it change Peter, right?
Yeah.
Well, and I think one of the best parts of this film is it's hopeful, even though it kind of ends in sort of down, but it's hopeful that there's resolution to all these specific issues that we've seen throughout all these different movies in the franchise and all these different characters.
Yeah.
Because you've had even whether it's a villain, or whether it's Andrew Garfield coming to terms with his loss, and he gets to redeem himself finally, and feel like he could save someone, so you have those moments that there's a resolution to that. It doesn't have to be one of those things where we have to kill the villain in the end.
All right.
We have to save the villain in the end.
Right.
And that's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't see that in these type of movies ever. And with that kind of hopeful message, it's just kind of cool. Now, granted, Doctor Strange lets a lot of stuff happen, but that's Doctor Strange. He's a little bit egotistical anyhow. He doesn't really listen
He
to
wasn't
the rules.
pressed though. He wasn't pressed by Peter. He did get
And
pressed.
Yeah, but I was
And
laughing at how aggravated he was at Peter
Yes.
when he first came there. You didn't go to college and ask them first before you came to me.
You didn't call that?
Oh my God, that was
It's like, call me sir.
You can now call me
like
sir
that.
from now on. That was
and
great.
Yeah.
we got to see a heroic Doc Ock. Otto.
Oh, I loved that they did that with his character, that he immediately became the one to come back to himself because it's not what he wanted, right?
Mhm.
It was a serious accident. He didn't try to become a super soldier. He didn't do anything. He tried to do something good and lost everything, right? So I thought it was so cool that he got to be really a good guy, you know?
Yeah.
Which
And
plays into the comics, right, Chad? Because he's
Yeah, he
occasionally
became Spider-Man at one point. Yeah,
Yeah, that
That's
was a
scary.
weird storyline though.
yeah, it was.
But I think they played it off so well because it was so I don't have words for it when he had the arc reactor in his hand
Ugh.
and he finally had what he wanted from
yes, the power
Spider-Man
of the
2.
sun in the palm of my hand. Oh my God, it's so great.
Yeah, he was touched by that himself, and that touches you, right? In
Yes.
that moment, he lost everything trying to create that to help people, and like there it was.
I feel like he took it back with him. I feel like he took it back with him.
So, can I ask you
Well,
guys
you're always
something?
rooting for him, even in the second film, Spider-Man film.
I think that's why it's so good, right?
Yeah, you root for him. You want him to be better. You want him to be good. You don't want to see him turn out a bad guy.
So, can I ask you guys something? If I'm remembering correctly, at least in the Raimi films for 1, 2, and maybe with Sandman in 3, right before they die in Spider-Man's arm or to the hands of Spider-Man, don't they all three have kind of a change of heart at the very last second? Or it seems like it.
Not Norman.
Definitely Doc Ock.
Doc Ock
Yeah,
does.
Doc Ock
I mean,
did.
that's the reason. I mean, he sacrifices himself for the arc reactor, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
But it's like, but that one, I can't remember if they did the same thing with Sandman. But
Sandman
at,
Well,
did.
yeah.
at the
Yeah,
very least, I thought that Norman had a hint of regret in his eyes when.
yeah, I'll give you that.
But do you think that what happened in this movie impacted the end of those? Can help justify the last second turns in those other movies?
Well, I think it's you're meant to think it did,
Yeah.
because they were pulled out of their universes before they died. So maybe sending them back with this change of heart and this and stuff like that, they'd have different outcomes too in there.
Yeah.
You know how the
Or they
multiverse be branching off stuff.
Yes.
By the way,
Maybe.
if you pay attention to the cracks, there are silhouettes of Black Cat, Craven, Scorpion, and Rhino. At least.
Oh, I didn't see the Black Cat one.
Yeah.
I'll have to
I
look at it
didn't-
again.
Oh, that's
don't-
I was
so
hoping we'd
cool.
get a glance at Craven.
Yes.
Mhm.
Well-
With his staff.
Supposedly
Yeah.
they were thinking of that for this film before when
I'm
they were
glad
trying
they
to figure out
did.
the rights to everything. So
Yeah, it's probably good
It
that
worked out perfect.
they also get a shout out to Miles indirectly, but
yes,
Yeah.
they do that.
Yeah.
And then of course we get the stinger with Venom in our universe, trying to figure things out, trying to figure out what the hell the Avengers are.
Oh
The
my
Tin Man
God.
flies.
That was so funny because it's so that version of Venom to just get drunk for what 36 hours and then decide to do something and then
Yeah.
he's going back. Like,
It's also
perfect.
a smart way to get Venom into the MCU away
Mhm.
from Sony, because that bartender was actually, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but became Venom in the comics for a while.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I think Marvel was kind of sneaky there, leaving that little bit of Venom there for that guy to pick up on.
Either
if it
that, or at the
stays,
very
then
least,
yeah.
it can lead to the Black Symbiote suit
Yeah.
Yeah.
storyline.
Mhm.
Well, if they plan on doing Secret Wars, right? And that was kind of where the black suit, right? And that where it kind of first came out.
Yeah.
Well, now
So-
people are talking that Secret Wars maybe they can pull in Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield.
Yeah.
Man, Josh and I have been talking. Amazing Spider-Man 3 is going to be the new Snyder cut. Like, I don't think people are going to stop talking about it after seeing Andrew Garfield in this movie, seeing him back as Spider-Man. I think people are really going to, there might be some fire behind that idea again, you know?
Yeah.
Why
Well,
not?
the rumor mill's going on that the Sony's starting to think about it. And
That'd be
Andrew
great.
Garfield's come out and said he'd be more than willing to play the character again.
How could you not?
Tobey
That would be
Maguire
awesome.
did say that he thinks he thinks his character is wrapped up in a nice little bow, though. So
Yeah.
Yeah. I think they've.
Can't say no to that.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind seeing him again, though. I'll tell you that.
Yes.
Okay. So we could keep talking. We're 15 minutes in. We could keep talking, heaping mounds and mounds of love onto this film. I think it's easy to discover that we all loved it. I think we should go ahead and end it here, and go ahead and give our final thoughts, our score 1 to 5, and our favorite scene. Slatman, you sir are up first.
wow, there's so much we didn't even talk about. Like we
I know.
barely scratched the surface.
We hardly talked about Doctor Strange at all,
and the villains, really. We just talked about Doc Ock. This is gonna be a 5. It I don't think it is a perfect film, but it is the film that we needed. You know,
that's fair.
It is by far the best thing to come out of the MCU since Infinity War. And it's amazing that it worked. Because on paper, if you had told me after the Amazing Spider-Man 2 came out that this was going to come out and it was going to be amazing, I would have laughed in your face, because there would have been no way that they would have been able to pull off this many villains, this many storylines, this much, and stuff it all in and write it so well and have it acted so well and have it musically like written so well and have some amazingly shot scenes in it. Like the scene where Peter's on the roof in the rain.
Oh my god,
is
so
beautiful.
The shot of the other two speeders up on the silhouette on the top of the tower.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I was talking about the one in the rain.
Where he's
but
looking at the
giant TV.
Yeah.
But if you had told me that all of this would have worked out 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, whenever that movie came out, good Lord, I don't know when it came out. I seriously would have laughed in your face and told you there's absolutely no way Sony can do this, because there's just no way, especially after the train wreck that was the Amazing Spider-Man 2. And it warms my heart that it happened. And the biggest issue that I have had with the MCU Spider-Man movies was resolved in this movie. Peter finally had consequences to his actions, and had to live with those consequences, and really live with those consequences. And it led to the best 3-movie origin story I think you could ever ask for.
Mm-hmm.
And they did such a good job. The writing was well done, the direction was great, the acting was great. William Dafoe killed it as Green Goblin. I actually think he probably acted better in this than he did in his original portrayal of it. And his original portrayal was already fan freaking tastic. I don't think they could ever find another actor to play Green Goblin.
Not now.
Not now. William Dafoe is just just good Lord, like a good freaking Lord. I cannot recommend this movie enough. It is worth the experience of seeing in theaters. It is worth the experience of just experiencing, and it's worth seeing multiple times, because there are so many things that you're going to miss, so many little things in the background, so much detail packed into this movie. And even though it kind of ends on a downer, it is such a satisfying ending to this trilogy. And I cannot wait to see what this version of Spider-Man becomes.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many different directions it can go, and I can't wait to talk to y'all about it later.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
my favorite
Might
scene.
have to do a show just on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, theories.
Good Lord, there's a lot of great scenes.
Hmm.
There's a lot of great scenes.
One.
I'm gonna go with what I think is the best acted scene in the whole movie, and it is Aunt May's death.
Mm. Mm.
That scene is heartbreaking, but it is so well acted, so
Mhm.
well shot, and so well done. And then like the scene right after that is so beautiful, where Peter's on the, like I mentioned, where Peter's on the roof in the rain, looking at the uh TV on the building, and just you see the pain, you see you see the anger, and it's just that
Yeah.
that sequence is the birth is really the birth of Spider-Man.
That's the
Not
our
Spider-Boy,
universe is.
Spider-Man.
Yeah. We'll say that Happy gets a great moment there too. The realization on his face. Oh my God, that
Oh,
was
yeah.
Yeah,
crushing. Crushing.
and him basically sacrificing himself. I know he not,
Hmm.
but like putting himself in harm's way to give Peter the chance to get out.
Right.
Like that was it just amazing.
Yep. Okay, if we can all push back the tears. Vanessa, what is your final thoughts, your score, and favorite scene?
Yeah, well, everything Chris said for sure. Like, this movie is so good. It feels good. It's not a perfect cinematic, masterpiece, but it feels good. It makes you feel good, and it gives you the things that you wanted to see in a good way, and not a pandering way, and not a cheap way. Like, I really feel like every decision that they made was the right decision for the story that they told. And that doesn't happen often.
No,
It's
not
kind
at
of
all.
like, no, it's kind of like magic. All these things came together, and we got out of the after it was done. I was like, all right, Iron Man, let's go. We got to start all over again to get back to here, because I need it. I need more of it. I love it so much. um but we didn't talk at all that much about the villains. But Jamie Foxx, Electro, what what an upgrade, man. His
Yes, yes.
character.
We get the
Yes.
we get the star
Yes,
face.
seeing him in yellow with the bolts, yeah. Character, in look, in dialogue, he was hilarious. Like, they did him real dirty in Amazing Spider-Man 2. And I really think like this was a great moment for him. We needed that Electro to be the last one we think of when we think of Electro.
Yeah, it finally
And
felt like Electro. Yes.
yeah, and he looks so cool, right? And I love that they started him blue, because there was nothing about this movie that was disparaging towards the other movies, right? They did poke
Right.
fun, and they had their moments, but none of them ever made it feel like those movies were bad, because they're not bad. And to a lot of people, like the Sam Raimi ones, that's their Spider-Man. The Amazing Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield, is their Spider-Man. So why disparage that to try to build something else up, right? And they really didn't. They just made it a team.
Mhm.
So absolutely a 5 for me for this one. Absolutely 5 plus 5. I saw it twice. Can I give it a 10?
Yes, 10 out of 5. Yes.
Yeah, 10 out of 5. I have to give an honorable mention scene, because I don't think any of y'all pick it, but it is the dialogue between the lizard and Jamie and Electro, when Electro is describing who he is. He's like, he's an amazing scientist. Then he turned himself to a lizard, and then he tried to turn everybody else into a lizard. And he goes to him and he's like, if you wanted a makeover, I could help you with that. And he's like, let me guess, lizard? And I just loved that. It was so silly, but I just loved that dialogue so much. But my favorite scene broke and touched my heart. They're on the roof. He's just met Toby and Andrew, and he says, your Aunt May told me, with great power. And then they finish the with great responsibility line.
Mhm.
And I just, my heart, tears were pouring down, because it's such a powerful statement. And it is them saying, it's what we do, it's who we are. It's just so, it's there in all of them at that moment. That's the one thing that tied them all together. You know, someone very important said that to them right before they died. And it's just, it's such a great, it's just such a great line. And the look on Tobey Maguire's face when he realized that had been said to him, and they all had that, you know, in their past, was just beautiful. There's so many beautiful moments, and that was just one of them.
Yeah, it does make you kind of tear up, doesn't it?
Mm.
All right, Chad, sir. Your final thoughts, your score, your favorite scene.
Final thoughts are when we think of Spider-Man, the way he was created, he's us. You know, he's the every guy. I mean, how many issues, Doc, you know, back in the day where he was trying to fight Dr. Octopus, but he had a cold and he had to, you know, and he's sneezing and if he didn't get the medicine back to Aunt May is much more elderly in the comics. And if he didn't get her medicine back to her on time, but doggone it, the Sandman keeps robbing banks, you know, and he's got to stop and do that. He has everyday problems. He's like every one of us, and I really feel like the movie takes Spider-Man back to that humanity and that everyman type thing. When they created him, I think Steve Ditko did the whole mask thing for that reason. It could be anybody under that mask. You don't know who's under that mask, and which gives him a very broad appeal, and that's one of the things that drew me to the character in the first place. So I'm glad that they stayed with that, with the Tom Holland films and even the Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield ones too. That he just feels like an everyday dude. There's nothing really special about him before he got bitten by the spider and all that. So it's cool to see that they've stuck to that. And this is definitely a 5. That's a no-brainer. I'm giving it a 5. I'm giving it a 5. My favorite scene, there were a lot of great scenes, but my favorite one is the very end. And Doc, you talked about seeing Superman fly for the first time in the Christopher Reeve movie. Mm-hmm. When I first saw that, I was like, "Oh my God! It's not George Reeves,
I know.
You know, green screened against a background. He really looks like he can fly." And that whole sense of wonder and imagination that comes with that, I felt that at the very end when Peter walked into that apartment, that little one-room apartment.
Yes.
And it just brought him back to where he started from in the comics.
Red and blue.
He sewed the red and blue costume and he's swinging through. And I was like, they've brought him back to the essence of what he is at the very end. But he's a different person now than when he first started in the first movie as well. So that is my favorite. That's my favorite scene. And it gave me that swell of, oh my God, I love this, type of feeling. And so, yeah, that's my favorite.
Very good scene. Very good. Christopher G. Morse, your final thoughts, your score, and your favorite scene.
Although I'm kind of disappointed we didn't get the landlord from Spider-Man 2 and 3.
Yeah, that would have been awesome.
Oh my God, that
might have been him. Rent's due on the 1st of the month.
Well, yeah, I was kind of hoping we'd, because he hasn't really been outside the MCU other than those 2 films. Yeah, I this film is one of those films to where you have expectations and you hope that they fulfill the expectations and they go beyond it. And that's a rarity a lot of times, because I think we do live in a world of disappointment where expectations end up making people hate stuff. That's why we have toxic fanboys and the Marvel, DC, and even Star Wars universes, where people have expectations of how the story is going to play out. And, even when it comes to like the Avenger films, when you're dealing with so many multiple characters or different characters, it's kind of hard to balance all that, juggle all of it to where the storyline makes sense. But this is one of those few instances where they juggle information from all of the stories in the Spider-Man universe, from all of the films, and they do it, pardon the pun, spectacularly.
Yeah.
It's I'm really, really astounded in what they were able to do with this film, because it builds on the stuff that we know before. And I think also that's a reason why a lot of people want to see it, because you have different generations who've had their own Spider-Man, you know, who are coming to see this, you know, whether it's Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, or Tom Holland. And when you get to see a lot of these storylines, you see resolutions of certain characters, their story arcs. You know, it's really beautiful to see, and they don't. It's not one of those things where they just willy nilly throw a reference out there. There's reasoning behind it. To where even people like Sandman get another chance. And that's amazing. That's keep saying different. I can't help but say that's amazing, and that's a. So yeah, this film is done. I think a lot of people are just. I think we're all shocked that it's so freaking good and so entertaining. This is one of the most entertaining MCU films I think in a while. And I think because it has that hope, because it has a hopeful message about it, a positive message, and a lot of humor. You know, that scene where all the villains are in Happy Hogan's condo, and when the Sandman sits on the couch and he keeps having to brush himself off. I was like, that's gonna be never ending. You might as well not sit down, dude. Because I was thinking, yeah, that's gonna be a pain in the butt. He's gonna leave sand everywhere. And then you know, and I will say, and they've taken characters and they've made them better. I hated Electro in the Amazing Spider-Man film, because he just felt like a character of a nerdy character who turned something. And I thought the blue looked stupid. And I think they actually made his character cooler. I wish that Electro had been in that film. Yeah. It would have made that film better, I think. Mm-hmm. So when they can build on it and make things better, I thought that's, and you know, I don't know. There's just so many great moments in this film. And again, this is a film. This is a reason why, as much as people like to give crap on superhero films, it is great that we can have a film where we all come together as a group, as an audience, people from different backgrounds, in the same way that all these different Spider-Men are from different universes. We're all from different backgrounds, and we can be all on the same page and cheer and laugh and cry and clap. And that's what movie going is all about. And this is one of the most perfect movie going films ever made. And I love the heck out of it. 5 out of 5. No brainer. I was thoroughly entertained. I was so worried going to this because, and on top of that, we get like an end credit thing that maybe I might as well change my pants after it.
Oh my God.
Because I was not expecting. We didn't even talk about that. We get like a freaking Doctor Strange trailer. You know, Sam Raimi's new film. And I'm like, I don't know if you saw me in the theater. I was like, like, so happy.
Well, you see some people leave. Always. There's some people that leave, and you're like,
nobody
it's been
left
20 years of Marvel movies. Or have you not learned anything yet?
Yeah,
your theater was smart, Chris.
So yeah, well, there are people next to me left. I was like,
crazy.
You guys are idiots. I'm gonna watch it. Yeah. As for favorite scene, I will say there, like you said, Doc, there's a million different things. I'll say the scene where now my brain's not working because I stepped out a few times because I was coughing. I will say the scene where they're working together and they land. Did anybody say that yet?
Oh,
no.
That is beautiful.
That moment,
because that moment where they're all working together and you see them shooting and they're spinning around each other, and then they all do and then they like spin by the moon.
And
it's like it's like it reminded me a little bit of Sam Raimi. You know, it's and they all land in different things. You know,
and their typical poses.
That is one. I'll say this right now. That is one of the most perfect comic book moments in movie history. I'll say right here. You know,
I agree with that.
But I'll say just you know, that encompasses how this movie is, how they work so many different things together to make it entertaining and fun and just a great story, you know, to see on the big screen. So that's my favorite scene out of the million other things I could have picked. I could have just picked the end credit Doctor Strange thing. It's not even part of the movie, but that would be cheating.
Yeah, just pick the Marvel logo. Yes, this movie just did it. It could have failed so spectacularly, but it actually worked, and it worked much better than I ever could have dreamed. It's the perfect cinema movie. It's the perfect film for a theater, and it's the perfect film for superhero fans, right? If you grew up reading comic books, this felt like a comic book. It felt like Spider-Man. It had the essence of the character, and everybody was absolutely on point and perfect. And people that we didn't even have a chance to mention, like J.K. Simmons, coming back, perfect.
God, yeah, the Alex Jones of his universe, like
that seems like a logical progression for him.
Yeah, well, there's a slight difference, with the character, but it's fine. It works. I'll buy it for $1, so I'm good with that. I do want to take a moment though to shout out John Watts, because not only did we get a Spider-Man Orange, we also got we got to watch that director grow. I don't know if you remember the first one and now this. If you compare them, he has grown so much as a director that I am. I'm trying not to use the same adjectives again, but I'm so looking forward to his Fantastic Four, because he's doing Fantastic Four next, and now I have the utmost hope that it's going to work. So,
Doc, like who helps Spider-Man figure out how to get the black suit off?
Reed
Richards.
Well, there's a rumor Reed Richards might show up in the Doctor Strange 2.
There's all kinds of rumors everywhere.
So excited.
But yeah, I just want to just shout out, because I thought he did an absolutely brilliant job. I mean, there's still some of the tropes that he does, but I think he handles, like you said, that the one scene that you're talking about is perfectly the scene with our Peter and MJ and I'm brain farting all of a sudden. Ned. In the basement, in Doctor Strange's basement. Every time they're in there, just great. The scene with all the Peters and doing the science thing. What a great way to show the difference of these three different Peter Parkers, in that, the way they handled science different. And seeing our Peter Parker, Tom Holland, beat Doctor Strange using math. This is geometry. I know this. And the next thing you know, it's just like, how perfect is that? That's absolutely perfect. 10 out of 5, 15 out of 5, 500 out of 5. This I can't believe how much I love this film, and I haven't stopped thinking about it since I saw it. And I can't. The only reason I didn't see it again is because I couldn't find a screening to go to, because it was so full, and the times that I could go, there wasn't anything. There wasn't anywhere to sit, and I wasn't going to sit in the front row. So I will see it over the holidays for sure. I think this movie is going to be. It'll be number one for the next 10 weeks.
It's already made over
easy,
$500 million in its first weekend.
It's
crazy.
worldwide.
And that's without China.
Right.
Without China. But you got to, but you got to think that, what's really, I mean, there's stuff coming out, but is the Matrix really going to ding this one hard? I don't think so. I mean, it's
not with it being on HBO Max.
No. Yeah. Well, there you got that.
That's true. Too.
Yeah. So my favorite scene. Let's get that out of the way. We're an hour and 15 minutes into this, but my favorite scene. Okay, I'm just going to throw this out. I could easily pick Ned doing the. I want the Peter Parker, and the Peter Parker's coming in, because that is. I don't know. I can't explain how I felt when that happened. I didn't expect it. I didn't expect it to happen then,
Mhm.
And when you see the Peter Parker or the Spider-Man down the alleyway and he comes running, as soon as he starts running, you're like, well, that's not Tom Holland. It's just the body language alone. And you're like, and you hear everybody realizing it at the same time. But I also want to, I could easily pick that, but I'm going to pick a different scene. I could pick, so I cheated. I'm going to pick Willem Dafoe as the Green Goblin at this point. Peter Parker, Spider-Man, is punching him in the face, and he's just cackling, laughing back at him, just taking the punches and laughing. It was the scariest I've ever thought of the Green Goblin, and that was pure Green Goblin. That's what Green Goblin would freaking do, right? It was, oh man, he really captured between that and when he shifted in Happy's apartment, in front of everybody. It's just like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. It was amazing. There we go again. It was just really, he just did a great job. Can this film go up for Academy Awards?
There's a rumor. There's a rumor that they might, that it might get some nods. At the very least, it's because it's the movie that got people back into the movie theaters after a year and a half. Or 2 years almost.
This is the first movie.
Well, no, get sound design. Well, special. Who knows? But
every movie, Ghostbusters, all the movies we've seen, not even maybe a third full, right? First movie I've seen in 2 years. Every single seat
absolutely full.
During a pandemic, so that shows a lot that people really wanted to see this.
Yes.
By the way, I think one of the best parts of the humor is because the director made them watch John Hughes films, and so Tom Holland, he has a house in Atlanta, and Tom Holland invited everybody out, and they watched all the John Hughes films.
Wow!
And also, you want to know one of the really deep trivia things in this film is. You remember when North Korea hacked Sony?
Yes.
When that happened?
Yes.
Okay. Well, one of the things that got hacked was an email where Amy Pascal was talking about or somebody was talking to her about how they needed to change Spider-Man, and how they need to make him more relatable to youth. So they wanted to make him more into rave music or dance music, and that he uses technology a lot, and that he uses phrases like MBD, no big deal. And there's a scene where they're in the lab, and there's and Andrew Garfield's like, "Oh, I can do this thing, no big deal." So they worked that phrase in, which is a very deep cut for those people that heard about the Sony hacking thing.
I love it.
So anyway, one last Easter egg.
All right. Well, there you go. That's our review for Spider-Man No Way Home. I can't believe I screwed that up, but that's typical Doc. I want to invite, we hope you stuck around for an hour and 18 minutes and watch this. We want to invite you to catch our review of Hawkeye episode 6, the season finale, coming up soon. And of course, as we go into the new year with the book of Boba Fett. And of course, we've got tons of Marvel movies to look forward to, from Morbius to Doctor Strange to we won't list them all here because we'll be here for another hour and 15 minutes, but we'll probably do something about that as well. So stick with us. 2022 is going to be a good year. Let's all cross our fingers and spider toes. And all right, Slatman, Christopher, Scar the Spider, thank you for joining me. And of course, Chad, welcome aboard. I'm so glad you're here, sir.
Thank you.
You're not canon. Your podcast canon.
Would have been better.
Don't shoot me out of it.
Great if you had come in through a portal.
From
decades of horror.
Awesome, right?
Who's that coming through the
sling
podcast
ring
portal?
He's the She-Hulk to our Fantastic Four. That's me. So who will know what that meant? All right, let's say goodnight.
Good night.
You do.
Beep, beep, words, America Chavez.
That's coming.
Yes.
Good night, everybody.
Good
Good
night.
night.